Hi, my name's Jayo, and I'd like to start off this speech by telling you a little story about how I got here. Well, it all started about 3 months ago when one of my teachers first told me about this event. And as soon as I heard about it, I was intrigued. I have always loved watching TED Talks, and the chance to actually participate in one was too good to pass up. So I ended up signing up. But when I came to the first meeting, there were only like 10 kids. I've been thinking there'd be like 50 kids and there'd be auditions, but only 10 kids? Former President Bill Clinton, Jane Goodall, Bill Gates, and Stephen Hawking are just some of the amazing people who have shared their ideas with TED. Why would you not want to be in the same stage as them? Well, this is an example of a growing problem that I think I have identified in society today. I call it the gray zone mindset. The gray zone mindset is when you have little motivation to do anything because you don't believe in yourself and your abilities. Everybody knows that feeling when you wake up and you feel like there's no reason to do anything, and then you go on to watch YouTube for the rest of the day. Imagine living like that. That's the gray zone. Not only, when you're in the gray zone, you're not only not making the most of your life, but you're also impacting the lives of people around you. You're like someone who's pessimistic, uninterested, and unmotivated. We live in an era surrounded by technology and information. 40 zettabytes worth of it on the internet alone, to be exact. That's 40 trillion gigabytes. That's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing because all this information is the road to the gray zone if not used properly. Have you ever been interested in something and sat out to the internet to find more information about it? Of course you have, everybody has. And the internet has crazy stuff, like videos of people who fly 300 kilometers an hour in wingsuits down mountains, or people who dive 100 meters below the surface of the ocean when they free dive. But even if you search for something more simple, like somebody playing an instrument, you'll see these people who are crazy talented. And they're so good that they make you wonder why you should even start, because they make you feel so inadequate and insignificant. And as teenagers without a solid foundation in life, feeling insignificant like this is what brings us into the gray zone. We need to believe in ourselves in order to push ourselves and develop as people. But without any confidence in ourselves, then we'll never be willing to do anything. Think about it this way. Your life is a bucket, and it's full of self-esteem, self-worth, and self-confidence. In order to fill that bucket up, you need to push yourself, try new things, and overcome challenges. Living with a full bucket is the opposite of living in the gray zone. Let's call it the color zone. In the gray zone, you might be living with low self-esteem, low motivation, and a more pessimistic outlook on life. While in the color zone, you're going to be living with more motivation, more self-esteem, and a more positive outlook on life. Living life in the color zone with a full bucket means you'll be living a happier, more glorious, and more fulfilling life. You'll be able to accept greater and greater challenges, and in turn, keep building up your self-confidence. Bruce Lee once said that action is a high road to self-confidence and self-esteem. Great leaders and influential people like Bruce Lee must have great confidence in themselves and their beliefs in order to lead and take risks in times when that is necessary. Do you think Bruce Lee would have ever made it to the place he was without an overflowing bucket? But even great leaders have to work constantly in order to keep their buckets full. How much is in your bucket is constantly fluctuating. And everyone can have an empty bucket sometimes. But when you're in the gray zone, you always have an empty bucket. Once again, with no confidence in yourself, then you'll never be willing to do anything. And by continually declining chances for learning and growth because you have no motivation, then you're keeping your bucket empty. See? It's a trap. The last time I was in the trap was during the beginning of COVID last year. At this time, we had been evacuated to Hawaii. But although we were in paradise, I was unhappy. I was stuck in a small hotel room, and my activities were limited due to COVID-19 restrictions. And I knew that we weren't going to be able to return home for months. I had no real hobbies. I was separated from part of my family, and I was swamped with work from online schooling. I felt lost, and I rarely had motivation to do anything, and I was in the gray zone. To get out of the gray zone, you must build back your self-confidence. You need to fill your bucket back up. This is definitely easier said than done, and it takes effort, work, and sheer willpower. But it's worth the alternative of wasting your life away in the gray zone. And no one's saying that it can't be fun. You must build back your self-confidence by overcoming challenges. And each time you complete a challenge, you fill your bucket up a little bit more. Be ambitious. As philosopher Epictetus once stated, the greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it in a task. So our hotel was 1 block from the beach. And Hawaii has some of the best surfing in the world and has created some of the best surfers in the world. I had experience surfing before, but due to the immense crowds of people who all seemed better than me, I was completely uninterested in going out. But then one day, Chuck, the hotel omelet chef who always called me local boy, gave me his old surfboard. I owed it to him to at least go out once, so I waited until dusk and went out to some random spot that I knew would have a minimal amount of people. I paddled out, and I was out for only about 30 minutes, and I didn't catch a single wave, but I came back in a great mood, and my bucket was a good bit fuller. What I had done was overcome a fear, and in doing so, I built confidence in myself and my surfing. And with that little boost of self-confidence, I started surfing more and more often. That feeling of accomplishment is what brought me back. Each time I made a sharper bottom turn, I got to the lineup faster, or I did something otherwise out of my comfort zone, like surfing a new spot. I felt more confidence. I felt more confidence in myself and my surfing abilities. As my confidence grew, I grew to realize that it doesn't matter how good the other surfers are, but how much you're improving each time. At this point, surfing became the center of my life, and I went surfing every day. My bucket was filled, and I had moved from the gray zone to the color zone. But I would like to emphasize the fact that it's not about what action you take to fill your bucket up. Whether it's juggling chainsaws at surfing or it's playing soccer, they can all help build your self-confidence as long as it's goal-oriented. And for me, over the past month, I've been filling my bucket up by preparing to stand on this TED stage today and talk to you about the gray zone. Hope you got something out of it.